All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So Matt Miller of ESPN just dropped a 7-round mock draft over on ESPN. Of course, I'll leave it linked down below in the description box, but let's check this thing out, right? So let me just scroll down here. Who does he have the Jets going with at spot number? Armand Membou. Okay, right tackle from Missouri with that 7th overall pick for the New York Jets. I like the pick here, right? I think the Jets can go in a lot of different directions. That's something that we've talked a lot about. But Membou's ceiling, because I think the thing that gets kind of glossed over a lot with Armand Membou is the age. He's only 20 years old. So if you're a Jets fan right now and you're thinking about just year after year, all the offensive line struggles, going back, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, it always kind of seems like the Jets never have that dominant group, right? Like the Lions or the Bucks. Membou to the Jets here does make a lot of sense, right? The thought of pairing a high upside 20-year-old in Membou on the right side of the offensive line, bookending this offensive line with, of course, Olu Fashanu on the other. I mean, this is not an over-exaggeration. We could be talking, like, if this is the pick on draft night, these two players, Olu and Membou, could be the team's future tackles for 10 years. Think about, like, how long that is, 10 years from now, right? And this player could still be starting for the Jets here. Olu could still be starting for the Jets. Contracts, injuries, whatever. I don't really, if all goes well, Membou and Olu could be the team's starting two tackles for the next decade. You look at Membou's strengths as a tackle, right? Pass protection jumps out. Quick feet jumps out. Athleticism jumps out. His ability to, and this is something that I've been really, really impressed with, when watching Armand Membou, his ability to shadow defenders, mirror defenders, right? Despite him playing in the SEC, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Bama, Florida, Georgia, all these great defensive lines. Despite him playing at the top of the top competition and only being 20 years old, he has this kind of patience about him where he's not, jumping the gun. He's not biting at the bait that a defender will give him. He will sit back and be patient in pass protection, which I think is really, really rare. And if you take that patience, that ability to mirror and shadow the defender and, match that with the athleticism here and the age, to me, that equates to a high ceiling. What can Membou look like at 24 years old with NFL experience, going through multiple training camps, working with an NFL strength program, still growing? It just kind of feels like sky's the limit for Armand Membou. And of course, he's a natural fit on the right side of the offensive line. I've seen a couple mock drafts with Will Campbell going, to the Jets at right tackle. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of that. If we're going right tackle in round 1, I want Membou. But yeah, got to be honest, love the pick here. It's pretty, I would say, standard. A lot of people are picking Membou here, but let's move on to round 2. Let's go. Pick 42. He has the Jets going with Tyleik Williams, defensive tackle from Ohio State. I got to be honest, this is probably, realistically speaking, my number one choice in round 2. I understand that, of course, the Jets have added a few veteran defensive tackles through free agency, right? Derek Nottie being like kind of the big headliner here. Tons of experience playing with the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. More so that run stuffer, but he's coming off a down season where he was relegated to being a backup. I mean, the Jets need some juice at the defensive tackle position. And Tyleik Williams, man, I love his game. I love his game for the Buckeyes. Big, intimidating run stuffer. He does a great job of getting north and south, attacking the ball carrier, clogging up lanes, clogging up the middle of the field. You're looking at the defensive system with Jim Knowles, who's one of my favorite defensive minds in college, in football, let alone college football. Such a smart individual. I love his style of defenses, really throughout the years too. But anyway, Tyleik Williams, you're looking at that defensive front. It's a 4-down lineman attack. So you like the natural fit is, with the Jets here, pairing them up next to Quinnen Williams. And all of a sudden you're looking at the, the defensive line as a whole. As the, with the projected starters, Jermaine Johnson, Quinnen Williams, Tyleik Williams, and Will McDonald. Very, very young. That's awesome, right? I think if Tyleik Williams is on the board, I think this will actually be the pick here. I actually do think he's going to be the pick. Okay, let's see. Pick 73, Jalen Reed, safety from Penn State. This is another one of these guys that I feel like would come in and fill that instant need, right? Cisco in the back end. Jalen Reed at that strong safety position, right? You look at where Reed is at his best. It's in the box. It's defending against the run. It's trusting his instincts. You're kind of thinking, okay, you're looking at safety development, not only just with the Detroit Lions with Aaron Glenn, but going back to New Orleans. Like, you're thinking, okay, if Reed is the pick here with a top 3 round, a day 2 pick here, that's going to be an Aaron Glenn, Steve Wilks type of addition, right? You're not going to take a safety if the defensive-minded coach who's worked really, really well with safeties, who's developed tons of them throughout the years, is not on board, or doesn't like the upside, or doesn't think you would fit the defense. I would love this fit. I would really, really like this fit. And yes, of course, Andre Cisco coming in as that veteran option. But is he really a veteran? Yeah, he's played a lot of games, but he's only 24 years old. So if Cisco has a good year as kind of that roaming center fielding, free safety, you're looking at the safety room. It's young and it's handpicked by this regime here. Love Jalen Reed, especially in the 3rd round. I don't know if he's going to be here at spot number 73, if I'm being honest. I think he's going to be like one of maybe those first picks in round 3, with the team that, maybe needs a safety up towards the top of round 3. Or, who knows, maybe bottom round 2. But I do think, look, if he's here, he would definitely be in consideration. Wow, pick 110. He's going Texas tight end Gunnar Helm. I really, really like this pick here, right? He was actually one of the selections made when I did my first 7-round Jets mock draft. A good combination sort of tight end, right? Projects to the next level pretty well. Isn't the perfect prospect, but, he's someone who can catch passes, still has a ceiling there, but also, as a run blocker, you feel like he could be effective in that range as well. Maybe projects more so as the go-to backup tight end, not necessarily someone who doesn't get into the game, but someone who, comes in certain situations, certain packages, maybe run heavy sorts of packages, also helps out in special teams. Gunnar Helm, I think also, the thing that's interesting with him, 22 years old, by the way, he still has a lot of room to grow as a pass catcher. I don't think he's a completely refined product at that area. And when I'm thinking about the Jets tight end room, and yes, of course, you can make the argument Fields and Jeremy Ruckert, they have that connection. Maybe, we can see Jeremy Ruckert burst out onto the scene. But that's a big roll of the dice for me personally at this point. Like, if I'm Darren Muji, I want to continue to add to this room, hence all the Tyler Warren love and whatnot in round 1. And I also think with Justin Fields' skill set, he will target tight ends. We've seen that tendency before. I actually have a video coming on that. But, yeah, Gunnar Helm here in round 4. Love the value. Okay, next up, round 5, pick 145, Dante Thornton, wide receiver from Tennessee. Again, this is a pick where, we're talking round 5. We're trying to address needs. We're trying to maybe add skill sets to this Jets team that we don't currently have. Dante Thornton, I'm loving this mock. Bro, this mock draft is sweet so far with Matt Miller. Like, he's really done. Like, if you could go out and get Dante Thornton in round 5, if you are the Jets, right? Because there's wide receiver needy teams picking in front of the Jets, of course, bottom round 4, top of round 5, like the Raiders and the Patriots. But if Thornton is on the board, this is not, an over-exaggeration here. Thornton would be the fastest wide receiver that the Jets have at 6'5". Right, that's the twist. Fastest receiver that the Jets would have, 4.3 40, by the way, at 6'5". So he's adding 2 skill sets, to this Jets wide receiving room alone that no one possesses. No one has that 4.3 speed, down the field, true vertical threat, and no one is 6'5". I'm going to assume that Allen Lazard is off the team. I still don't really know what's going on with that situation, but if Dante Thornton is the pick here, I could actually see him making an impact in preseason, like a big one, and then potentially being one of those guys where you bring him out in specific packages, like those 3rd and 13s. You line him up on the outside. Now Tyler Johnson was, of course, added to the room. I like that signing, especially for the money and whatnot. But Thornton is kind of a different skill set. He provides against something different where you can get maybe a little bit more creative. Right now, if you are Tanner Engstrom, who's your vertical downfield threat? And I'm not talking like off of play action or anything. I'm just talking about line them up out wide and just say go route, right? Do we have really any player like that at this point in time who can consistently do that against any defense? I would say probably not. maybe once in a blue moon for sure, but Thornton has that blazing speed. The big knock on Thornton, of course, is the overall production. Back at Tennessee, doesn't really have those crazy numbers, crazy yards, catches, touchdowns. It wasn't like the offense was running through Thornton. That offense under Heupel is just so electrifying, constantly hunting deep plays, and you see a lot of the receivers that come out of the Heupel offense kind of have that knock against them, which is the route tree. That's kind of the knock on all these guys that come out. It's like, okay, the limited route tree, there might be more of a, like a learning curve coming out to where it's not going to be as fluid early on. Maybe just kind of be that one-trick pony in that first season. And then as the training camps start to pile up, now you really start to see these guys turn into more developed route runners. We saw that issue back with Baylor wide receivers early on, back in the Bryles days and whatnot. But anyway, Dante Thornton to the New York Jets here. Really, really like this pick here in round 5. Addresses that big need. Pick 162, he's going corner from Kansas, Mello Dotson. Long, lanky, over 6'1", former Florida State and FAU transfer. This would be an interesting pick, right? Because again, you have that former DB as your head coach here in Aaron Glenn. If Mello Dotson is in fact the pick, that tells you something about where the Jets, where Aaron Glenn specifically stands with Mello. Now, just honestly, I do think Dotson would maybe be a better fit for the Jets if we still had Saleh as the head coach, as that kind of drop in his zone type of corner. But it's not to say that Mello Dotson in like a heavy man type of system is just a horrible decision. There's just questions about the top end speed. There's questions about hanging with the receiver on the outside. But you look at where Dotson does shine. It's ball skills. It's instincts underneath. It's possessing that length at the cornerback position too. So I like this pick. It addresses a need, kind of rounding at the cornerback roster, the depth chart. But that to me is like the main takeaway here, right? If Aaron Glenn were to draft a cornerback, or really if the Jets draft a cornerback here, we know, okay, hold on a second. There could be something more than just, let's just take this guy and see what he has. I think this is like, if we see a corner go off the board, he's going to be handpicked, much like Brandon Stevens, the free agent signing from Baltimore, right? Like multi-year deal, $10+ million on average a season, because a lot of people didn't really like that signing based off of statistics and, the highly detailed statistics as well. But, you got to think, okay, Aaron Glenn, he has his guy. He's going to go out and make it happen. They're signing him for a reason. So, anyway, Mello Dotson, pick 162. Pick 186, quarterback from Minnesota, Max Brosmer. See, this is kind of my... Again, I'm really liking this draft so far because the Jets, there's like Jackson Dart buzz coming from Todd McShay and, just the whole like... Take a quarterback at 7, trade back into the first round to go get a quarterback, go get a quarterback at 42. I'm cool just letting it ride out with Justin Fields and seeing if he grows. Seeing, like, who knows? Justin Fields could be what if Justin Fields has a similar year, maybe not so much like statistically speaking, but a similar year that Darnold had with the Vikings. I'm not saying it's it's a for sure thing that he's going to work out, but I don't feel comfortable really taking a quarterback in round 1 or round 2, or even round 3 too. Because I'm looking at those 3 spots as starters immediately on this Jet squad. I would much rather prefer the Jets do this route, go down this path and select a quarterback on day 3. Another thing too that we have to factor in is like the media hype. Like, it really feels like, okay, if the Jets draft Jackson Dart or whatever, Tyler Shuck at 42, there's going to be just, the cameras, the questions and articles and Aaron Glenn having to answer questions about it. When is Tyler Shuck going to play? How's Tyler Shuck coming along? Is there a quarterback competition? This and that. If Justin Fields has a rough practice, well, when is Shuck ready to play? It's just going to be a unnecessary circus, in my opinion. And if it was Mariota or Carson Wentz or Brissett, all the quarterbacks that the beat reporters were linking to the Jets, initially before free agency kicked off, if the Jets actually did sign one of those guys, okay, you know what? Let's go out and make a move for a quarterback. I feel more comfortable with that. But because Fields is 25, 26 years old, let's just see what he has and give him the reins for a year. But Brosmer, super strong arm here, lots of experience, former FCS transfer coming into Minnesota, only had the 1 year with the Gophers, but was impressive. One thing I really like about Brosmer, ability to put the ball in play, always puts up a high completion or relatively high completion percentage, and he doesn't turn the football over, right? You look at the last 3 seasons of production for Brosmer, and it's a solid TD to INT ratio. And, if you're talking about it being a backup quarterback, to have kind of that naturally strong arm, he does have a funky release, but, he gets the football out. And there's velo on the football. It's not like wobbling ducks out there. Sometimes you see quarterbacks with like stranger releases and the arm isn't as good, and it turns off a lot of quarterback coaches. But release is a little weird, but the ball comes out fast. So, hey, if the Jets want to take a shot here on day 3, be my guest. Wow, and then at pick 207, he has the Jets going with Jack Kaiser, linebacker from Notre Dame. Kind of this do-it-all, tough, physical, no weakness type of player. Like, you can argue he doesn't really excel in one specific area, but he's just kind of one of these high-floor types of players. And Kaiser is someone who I actually had, in my Jets 7-round mock too, because I feel like in those late rounds, to add someone like this who has that track record against the run, but also track record of working really, really hard, track record of putting his head down and earning his starting spot on that defense, and had to work his way up. You look at what Jack Kaiser was able to do on special teams. That's where people were really raving about him. Not going to sit there and complain, not going to, take plays off, big time motor, plays through the whistle. That's my type of player. And, you're looking at the production also at Notre Dame, like in the late rounds like this, I'm totally cool with the Jets walking away with Jack Kaiser. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Matt Miller, dude, I love this mock draft. Like, this mock draft is really, really, really impressive. I'm actually going to spend some time on it and look at it through, other teams' perspectives, because, whether it was luck or whether like he really knows what this Jets roster needs. This thing is super, super impressive. Super impressive. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks so much. And as always, go Jets.